Welcome to the 23rd chapter of the book of Numbers. We're continuing the saga of Balak, king of Moab, and Balaam, the prophet that comes from Mesopotamia. It says in 23:1, and Balaam said to Balak, build that, those are how it's pronounced in Greek. I'm just going to go and call them Balaam and Balak because pronounce it that way it's be kind of tedious for me to do it. Build for me here 7 shrines and prepare for me 7 calves and 7 rams. And these shrines were some type of a stonework to sacrifice the animals upon. And Balak did in which manner Balaam said to him. And so Balak build these shrines, and he offered a calf and a ram upon the shrine. And Balaam said to Balak, you stand beside your sacrifice, and I shall go to see if a God shall appear to meet with me. And the saying whichever he shall show to me, I shall announce to you. And he went straight. And God appeared to Balaam. That's an amazing thing. I mean, this man was not a Jew, apparently. He came from Mesopotamia. He was some type of a clairvoyant type of a person. People called for different reasons of direction. But yet God appeared to Balaam, and he speaks to him. And here this man is not a Jew. I thought that was very significant. And then, but here it says God, Elohim, in the Hebrew. And Balaam said to him, to God, the 7 shrines I prepared, and I brought a calf and ram unto the shrine. And God put a word into the mouth of Balaam, and he said, turning towards Balak, thus you shall speak. And he returned to him, that is, Balaam returned to Balak, and thus he stood over his whole burnt offerings, and all the rulers of Moab with him. And taking up his parable, Balaam said, from out of Mesopotamias, Balak, king of Moab, fetched me out of the mountains of the east, saying, come curse to me, Jacob. So here again we see Mesopotamia, and the translators of the Hebrew into the Greek thought that this was correct, apparently, because this is what they had it, instead of, we don't know where his city of Basor was. So this is the beginning of what he's saying, and he continues, and come a curse to me, Israel, is what Balak said. Well, how shall I curse whom the Lord does not curse? And how shall I imprecate maledictions, that is, bad things, upon whom God does not imprecate maledictions upon? How shall I curse whom the Lord does not curse? Now, again, as I mentioned in the last chapter, did he really know the name of the Lord? Being over in Mesopotamia, or was he using that as a sort of a title? Well, I've been studying the Hebrew now for the last couple of months, and basically the proper names, and I'm putting together a book. Hopefully it'll be done maybe by the end of the year, sometime in 2020. And basically what it is, it has in the left column the Greek name, and then in the next column, it has alternate names, spellings, odd spellings. And then the third column over is the number, the Strong's number. Now, I did not have anything to do with numbering the Hebrew Old Testament. James Strong did that. And so I used the Strong's Hebrew number for the Greek word. And then after in the fourth column, I give his Greek name that appears in the Apostolic Bible, our names, and so forth. And hopefully, in the fifth column, we'll have all the places that those names appear, as far as names that appear more than once. Now, as I was studying the Hebrew, doing all these names, and right now I'm down into E, which is called Yod. Now, as I studied this, I came to, in comparing it with the Hebrew names, which was put together a couple hundred years before Christ, and I saw what they had today, because I have the King James name, which in that fourth column is the name that appears in the Apostolic Bible. And most of the time it goes along with the King James, because I didn't want to change these names all around to make them sound Greek and nobody would know who was. So anyway, the spelling of the Hebrew into the Greek that they chose a couple hundred years before Christ, I'm thinking, well, this is amazing. How come nobody's ever done a study like this before? Because now when the Jews decided to take up studying these things, and a lot of it, they were after Christ. And so they did not want to have anything to do with the Greek. And they did not consider any of the Greek scriptures, what's called the Apocrypha or Deuterocanonicals, as scriptures, because they were in Greek. So these people, these Jews, did not want anything to do with Greek. But yet they've thrown away a lot of knowledge, especially on how to pronounce Hebrew. And the first thing I saw, because I went to what's called the Tetragrammaton, the name for God that I saw, that I thought was the name for God, began. Let me go to, and I have right here. I have a chart I made up. Basically, it comes out of Exodus 3:14. So the name for God in the Greek is Kyrios, and in the Hebrew here, instead they call this a yod, but there's no yah. In the Greek always has an Jesus for Jesus, Iasias for Isaiah, and so forth. So there's no yah. So this Jehovah or Yahovah is completely, I think, inerrant as far as if you use the Greek pronunciation. Now, what is it? So here we have a E, which they say is a yod, and then the het, ha sound, and the vav, and a ha sound again. So it's iha va, iava'a, something close to that. And in Exodus 3:15, it says for iava'a, which would be, which is called the Tetragrammaton for Jehovah, that this is a title. At least I always thought it was a title, and it wasn't the real name. That and it says that in with the word of number 2143 in Hebrew, tsacher. Here's a sade and a kaf and a ro. I'm getting Greek and Hebrew. What is it in Greek? So it's saker, and that was a title as far as Jay Green's interpretation of the Hebrew, and the name is in the name onoma in the Greek. It uses his name, eternal name, is, and the onoma can be either a title or a name in Greek. Now, so what I'm getting at is that it's pronounced differently, iava'a, or iava, and that is the pronunciation of the title of Kyrios, turned into Kyrios. Throughout the Greek Old Testament, it never used his name. It was always Kyrios, which is a title. In many places, you can see how it's used as a title and not as a name, although it does say that his name was in the Greek, the onoma, but I put name because I didn't know any of this when I started. You could put title. My title is Eavaa. So that is that word there. Kyrios and then Eavaa, the tetragrammaton, tied in to the eternal name, and the name or title, eternal title. Now, in Genesis 3:14, what is his name? He says that to Moses, what shall I call you? And he says that my name is, and now it's 1961, is this word right here. And there's the alpha, het. It was called the yod. I have to use yod so you know, but it's an E sound, het. And then the alpha, Samek, Rosh. And then it's the same thing again. And so God said, this is it, by the name by which one was remembered. And it appears in Genesis 1:3 in the first verse of the Bible. And it says, the earth was without form. The word is was. He was. And it's Ia. Ashir, Ia. That is the name of God. This is what he said, and this is the one that is to be remembered throughout the generations. If you go and read, I should have copied it, Exodus 3:14 and 15. The title is not the name to be remembered. It's a name to be used because it's used every place else. The only place that I can think of that I know of that this name appears is in Exodus 3:14, where God tells Moses, this is his name, which is to be remembered. And it is, some people say the being one, the one who is, or the was. And getting down into exactly, I'm not that far into the Hebrew that I can ascertain exactly the meaning, why it has it this way. This Asir is more of a, Asir is a word that's not, it's not like a true word. It must be a small word like I am, like and or am, something like that. It's not a word that has a number in it. The Strong ever gave the number. Strong gave the number Ahia, number 1961, to his name, and you'll see it in 3:14. That's what you'll see is in 1961 above Ahia on both places, but nothing underneath this one. Now, interestingly, if you went to the Hebrew that Strong's numberings did it, this Ahia is the seventh numbered word in the Bible. The seventh word in the Bible, numbered word that Strong gave a number, is Ahia. So this is who he is, but now I don't know if the Jews have ever picked that up. That if they have, they certainly don't use it. They've went to using the Kyrios, which is the title, translated as such, 300 years or so before Christ. So, as I said, I think here that the Lord is a title that would be like the Lord, that Balaam used. So anyway, it continues, and so how shall I imprecate maledictions upon whom God does not imprecate maledictions upon? Well, good man. For from the top of mountains I shall see him, and from hills I shall pay attention to him. Now, who is the him? Israel, Jacob. Behold, a people so it could be a people shall dwell alone. And I put the semicolon there, and among nations they shall not be reckoned together. And Israel is certainly different than any other nation in the world. Little postage stamp-sized country that will rule the world, I believe, when the beast comes soon. And they are very powerful. They have their own ways of doing everything. The Jews have a lot of them have been coming back to this country, and it is separate. Who determined exactly the seed of Yaakov, of Jacob? Oh, God. And who shall count out peoples of Israel? May my soul die among souls of just ones, and may my seed become as the seed of this one. Now exactly this one here, they have different variants. Israel, maybe is what it's talking about. And Balak said to Balaam, "What have you done to me? For a curse from my enemies I've called you, and behold, you have blessed a blessing." And Balaam said to Balak, "Is it not as many things as God should put into my mouth? This I will guard to speak." All right, question. This I will guard to speak? And Balak said to him, "Well, come yet with me to another place, of which you shall not see it from there, but only a certain part of it you shall see." So he takes him, shows him a smaller part, maybe thinking that, well, at least I'll get a curse out of this smaller amount of people. "But in no way should you see all, and you curse it for me from there," the smaller amount. And he took him into a field. Agriculture comes from that. A height, and you can add that to your English derivatives book. Scopion, we have a scope, something that you look out on from. Mount Scopus is, I think, one of the mountains in Jerusalem, or hills. And he took him into a field, a height upon the top of a place for dressing stone, some type of a quarry area. And he built there 7 shrines and brought a calf and ram into the shrine. And Balaam said to Balak, "Well, stand beside your sacrifice, and I shall go and ask God," as he did the first time. And God, it doesn't say Yahweh or any, just God Elohim met with Balaam and put a word into his mouth, and he said, "Return to Balak, and thus you shall speak," in the imperative. So he gives him what to say. So now we'll find out what that is. And Balaam, returned to him, Balak, and thus he was standing beside his whole burnt offering, again at this shrine area, and the rulers of Moab with him, waiting for an imprecation of maledictions and the curse. And Balak said to him, "What said the Lord?" And taking up his parable, he said, "Rise up, O Balak," and this is what God told him, "Rise up, O Balak, and hear." Imperative. "Give ear, O witness, son of Sephor. God is not as a man to waver, nor as a son of man to be threatened. He, in speaking, shall he not do? Shall he speak and not adhere to? He's going to do what he says. Well, too bad Balaam didn't take his own advice, because he had to have it question him when he first went twice. And people have done this and have had the repercussions by God. There was Zacharias who questioned God inside of the holy place when God sent the angel to tell him about he's going to have his son John and so forth. He couldn't speak then. That was the repercussion to Zacharias. So shall he speak and not adhere to? Behold, I have taken to myself to bless. I will bless, and in no way shall I turn back. There shall not be trouble in Jacob, nor shall misery appear in Israel. The Lord his God is with him. The honorable ones of rulers are with him. God, the one leading him out of Egypt, as the glory of a unicorn. A unicorn is sort of like a powerful animal, a single horn. For there is not an omen in Jacob. That is, they don't have somebody looking at omens and trying to figure out the future. God is directly telling them. Nor divination in Israel. God is the one that's telling them through the priesthood. In time, it shall be told to Jacob and to Israel what? God shall complete. And God was giving them all these laws as Balaam was speaking. Behold, the people as a cub shall rise up. A small cub is going to get like big bear. And as a lion, well, here it's a lion cub, and shall raise up, and as a lion it shall prance. Israel is going to become very powerful. It shall not go to sleep until it shall eat game. So Israel did not go to sleep and did devour the enemies for a long period of time until finally they walked away from God and they were devoured. And the blood of the slain it shall drink. And Balak said to Balaam, neither in curses shall you curse him, nor blessings shall you bless him. And Balaam answering said to Balak, did I not speak to you, saying, the word whichever God should speak, this I will do? And Balak said to Balaam, come, I should take you to another place, if it should please God, and curse him to me from there. And Balak took Balaam upon the top of Peor, a mountain. Now, exactly what mountain that is, I'm not sure, but it was a part extending into the wilderness where the children of Israel were down below. And Balaam said to Balak, again, build for me here 7 shrines, and prepare to me here 7 calves and 7 rams. And Balak did just as Balaam said to him, and bore a calf and a ram unto the shrine. Now, the third time, we'll have to wait till the next video seminar in chapter 24 to find out the conclusion of what Balaam tells Balak that God has said. I hope you'll join us in the next video seminar. And until then, again, God bless.